Most people believe that when someone isolates themselves, it means they are sad, broken, or depressed. We assume something is wrong with them. We whisper that they are struggling. But what if that assumption is completely wrong? What if isolation is not a sign of weakness, but a response to something deeper? Something psychological, something intentional. If you have ever pulled away from people, reduced contact, or preferred silence over conversation, this video may explain you better than you expect. Before we begin, I want you to comment below with one word that best describes you right now. Just one word. It helps others realize they are not alone. Now let's begin. Isolation is often misunderstood because humans are social creatures by nature. From childhood, we are taught that connection equals health and distance equals danger. We grow up hearing that being alone too much is unhealthy, strange, or even alarming. So when someone chooses solitude, society quickly labels it as a problem. But psychology tells a more complex story. Many people who isolate themselves are not running away from life. They are reacting to it. There is a quiet difference between loneliness and isolation. Loneliness is painful. It feels empty. It aches for connection. Isolation, on the other hand, can feel controlled. It can feel calm. It can feel safe. People who isolate themselves often do not hate people. They are not antisocial. They are not broken. In many cases, they are simply overwhelmed. Modern social life is noisy. Conversations are fast. Expectations are constant. Everyone wants attention, validation, reaction, and emotional labor. For some people, this environment becomes mentally exhausting. They begin to notice that every interaction costs them energy instead of giving it. Over time, they start pulling back not because they are sad, but because their mind is protecting itself. Psychologists have found that people who isolate themselves often have high internal processing. Their minds are always working. They reflect deeply on conversations. They replay interactions. They notice subtleties others ignore. This depth can be a strength, but it also means social exposure drains them faster. Isolation becomes a way to recover mental clarity. Another misunderstood factor is disappointment. Repeated social disappointment slowly teaches the brain to withdraw. When people feel misunderstood again and again, they stop explaining themselves. When they feel ignored, they stop reaching out. When they feel emotionally used, they stop offering access. Isolation becomes a boundary, not a breakdown. Some people isolate after realizing that most conversations are shallow. They notice patterns, repeated gossip, repeated complaints, repeated emotional dumping without growth. Over time, they feel disconnected not because they are alone, but because they feel unseen even in groups. Silence begins to feel more honest than noise. This is why isolation does not always come with sadness. Many people report feeling calmer after stepping back. Their anxiety reduces. Their thoughts slow down. Their sense of self becomes clearer. They are not depressed. They are detoxing from overstimulation. There is also a control element. Social environments often demand performance. Be interesting. Be agreeable. Be available. For people who isolate, stepping away is a way to reclaim control over their time, emotions, and attention. It is not avoidance. It is autonomy. Culturally, we celebrate extroversion. We reward visibility. But psychology does not rank personalities. It observes them. An observation shows that some people think better alone. They regulate emotions better alone. They create better alone. Isolation for them is not absence. It is alignment. The problem arises when outsiders project their fears onto someone else's behavior. We confuse quiet with suffering, distance with despair. But many isolated individuals are not unhappy. They are selective. They are conserving energy. They are choosing depth over volume. This does not mean isolation is always healthy. It means it is not always pathological. There's a difference between hiding and choosing. And psychology is about understanding intention, not judging appearance. In the next part, we will explore the psychological traits most commonly found in people who isolate themselves, and why these traits are often mistaken for emotional problems when they are actually cognitive patterns. To understand why some people isolate themselves, we must look at how their minds process the world. Psychology shows that behavior is rarely random. It is shaped by perception, experience, and internal regulation. Isolation is not a sudden decision. It is a gradual response. One of the strongest psychological factors behind isolation is heightened self-awareness. People who isolate tend to observe themselves constantly. They notice their reactions, thoughts, and emotional shifts. This self-monitoring makes social interaction more demanding. While others speak freely, they analyze. While others react instantly, they reflect. This internal processing consumes mental energy. Another key factor is emotional sensitivity. This does not mean emotional weakness. It means emotional accuracy. Isolated individuals often pick up on tone changes, micro-expressions, and inconsistencies. They feel emotional undercurrents that others ignore. Over time, this sensitivity can become overwhelming in group settings. Silence feels safer than constant emotional input. There is also the issue of value mismatch. Many people isolate when they realize their values do not align with the majority. They may prioritize honesty, depth, or growth, while their environment rewards status, attention, or conformity. Rather than constantly compromising themselves, they withdraw. Isolation becomes a form of self-respect. Psychologists also note that people who isolate often have strong internal worlds. Their thoughts are rich. Their imagination is active. Their inner dialogue is complex. They do not rely on constant external stimulation because their mind already provides it. Socializing becomes optional rather than necessary. Another overlooked factor is social exhaustion caused by emotional labor. Many isolated individuals are natural listeners. People open up to them, vent to them, lean on them. Over time, this creates imbalance. When someone is always absorbing emotions and rarely being supported, withdrawal becomes a survival response. Isolation can also follow disillusionment. As people mature, they notice patterns in human behavior: repeated selfishness, repeated dishonesty, repeated superficiality. This does not make them cynical. It makes them selective. They stop investing in interactions that do not nourish them. Importantly, isolation is often misdiagnosed as depression because it looks similar on the surface. Less communication, less social presence, more time alone. But the internal experience is different. Depression feels heavy. Isolation often feels light. Depression drains motivation. Isolation restores it. There is also a neurological angle. Some brains are wired to process stimulation more intensely. Noise, crowds, and constant interaction overstimulate the nervous system. Isolation helps regulate that system. It is not avoidance, it is regulation. Many people who isolate are not rejecting others. They are filtering. They want fewer connections, but deeper ones. They are not antisocial. They are selectively social. Society often pressures these individuals to change, to open up, to be more available. But forcing connection can increase distress. Understanding, not correction, is the healthier response. In the next part, we will reflect on this behavior more personally, and I will ask you a question that may help you understand whether isolation in your life is avoidance or awareness. At this point, it is important to pause and look inward. Isolation looks different depending on why it exists. Some people isolate because they are hurting. Others isolate because they are healing. The behavior may look the same, but the intention is not. Think about your own moments of withdrawal. When you pull away, how do you feel afterward? Do you feel calmer or heavier? Do you feel clearer or emptier? These emotional signals matter. Psychology is less about labels and more about patterns. Ask yourself whether your isolation gives you clarity or confusion. Some people isolate to think better. Others isolate because they feel unworthy of connection. The first is self-regulation. The second is self-rejection. They require different responses. Many people watching this video may recognize themselves in this behavior but still feel conflicted. On one hand, solitude feels necessary. On the other, there is guilt. Society tells us that pulling away is wrong, that we should always be available, always connected, always responsive. But constant availability is not emotional health. It is emotional exposure. And exposure without boundaries leads to burnout. Consider how often your energy is taken without being replenished. How often conversations leave you drained. How often you explain yourself and still feel misunderstood. These experiences slowly teach the brain to retreat. Now here is an important question for you, and I want you to answer it honestly, even if only to yourself. When you isolate, are you escaping people, or are you escaping patterns that hurt you? There is a big difference. If isolation helps you regain focus, emotional balance, and self-respect, it may be a protective mechanism. If isolation deepens shame, anxiety, or self-doubt, it may be a warning sign. Isolation is not the enemy. Disconnection from meaning is humans do not need constant interaction. They need meaningful interaction. Many people who isolate are actually waiting for conversations that feel real, waiting for people who listen, waiting for environments that do not demand performance. Until then, solitude feels safer. Understanding this removes unnecessary shame. It allows you to approach your behavior with curiosity instead of judgment. And that curiosity is the foundation of psychological growth. In the final part, we will talk about how to approach isolation in a healthy way, and how to maintain balance without forcing yourself to become someone you are not. Isolation, when understood properly, is not something to fear. It is a signal. Like all psychological signals, it asks to be interpreted, not silenced. The problem begins when we ignore why we isolate and only focus on the behavior itself. Healthy isolation has intention, it has limits. It allows for rest without cutting off meaning. It creates space without building walls. Unhealthy isolation, on the other hand, feels heavy and endless. The difference lies in awareness. If you choose solitude, choose it consciously. Use it to reflect, not to ruminate. Use it to recharge, not to disappear. Stay connected to purpose, even if you disconnect from noise. It is also important to remember that isolation does not mean permanence. People who isolate deeply often reconnect deeply as well, but only when the connection feels real. Quality replaces quantity. There is nothing wrong with needing less social stimulation than others. There is nothing wrong with preferring silence over surface-level interaction. Psychology does not demand sameness. It explains difference. If this video resonated with you, it likely means you have experienced this tension yourself. You are not broken. You are not strange. You are responding to your environment in the way your mind knows best. If you found value in this perspective, consider subscribing. Not because you have to, but because more videos like this explore human behavior without judgment, without exaggeration, and without shame. And if you feel comfortable, leave a comment sharing your opinion. Do you believe isolation is misunderstood, or do you think society is right to be concerned? Your perspective may help someone else feel understood. Silence is not emptiness. Sometimes it is where clarity begins.